Hey, good morning. I am here this morning to get some coding done, and so that's what we're going to spend some time doing. But I just want to recap really quickly what we did last time. So on the last session, I think it was Friday, we came in here and we built an engine that allowed a user to set the emotion for the voice that's used in the skill. And so that allowed us to have excited or disappointed assigned as values. And so I've been thinking about this since then. I had a crazy weekend that I mentioned of watching a lot of sports, so my voice is a little rough. But I was able to think about what I wanted to do next. And one of the things that I think is really going to be cool about this skill is the ability to kind of compose what you think all the sounds you want to be are. So I want an excited voice that says a certain thing, or I want an excited voice that also has slow prosody or whatever. And so we're like, as we continue to add all these SSML things, it occurred to me that like you can kind of compose what you want your sound to look like. And then I think I might also have an intent where, excuse me, you can ask Alexa to just say something. So she'll use the search query slot, she'll capture your words and just parrot them back to you. And so I thought it might be cool to do another one of the SSML things, maybe prosody or volume or something like that. Good morning, Select. Good morning, Kevin Evans. But then maybe we also build the search query slot that allows you to get it to say something. So if you are trying to test out a phrase or something and you want to hear how Alexa will pronounce that, you could do it. And this will become especially handy when you use the keyboard mode in the Alexa app. So you could type in something exactly, and then you could hear how Alexa is going to say it with all the properties that you've added, right? Whether that's emotion or prosody or volume or whatever. So that's the plan for today. Let's find another SSML property that we want to add to this skill, and then from there we can maybe do the search query slot too if we have time. Anyway, let's get right into it. So first things first, let's share some screens. Present, share screen. I want this one. Share. And we'll go with this view. I think that's nice. Okay. Okay, so over here, we did effect last time. And so no, we didn't. We did emotion. So with emotion, we have two attributes, right? We have name. We also have intensity. I didn't allow us to change intensity, but that's another one we could do. But that intensity only applies to the emotion, which is the thing that we already did. And right now, I just have them set to high. I think that that's something that we'll want to do in the future, but I'd rather do something that's a little more interesting. So let's see if we can come up with domain has like the conversational tags. I think we could probably do this one pretty easily. The problem with this also is that this will, well, not the problem, but this will let us also know whether can you do like conversational style with excited, with a specific emphasis, with this specific prosody. Do those things mix, and how do they all play? So we could do domain. This has a name property, but the name property has 5 different values. And so we could do those. And like, for example, fun only works in Japanese skills. So we have to, also think about how we're going to do those things as we internationalize this skill. But I feel like this is an okay option. And these are other things that we might want to tell people as they use this. A conversational style. Let's just do that. So we have a news style. We have music. That'll work for us. Long form, podcasts, articles, and blogs. And it's just the way that the user speaks. No, select. I never did publish the Chatsino for a variety of reasons. But I have a much better foundation for how I want to build things now. And so I think that eventually I will revisit the Chatsino for sure. But not currently. I wish I could be just a full-time dev cranking stuff out, but day jobs also require a lot of other cool things that I have to do. So I wish I had like 8 hours a day to just build. Okay, so we're going to use this. So we're going to use Amazon domain. That means the first thing that we want to do is in our data table for user, we have emotion. So we're going to create a new one called domain. And that domain is going to have the same kind of values that we just did. So like we did last time, we're going to start by giving it a value. And so we'll use conversational as our value. So back into my table, we'll just put conversational in there as the value. Okay, so first things first, let's get our dev environment set up, because I've done none of this since we left off on Friday. And so I have my developer environment. If I say open voice developer, this should just sound like Alexa.
Welcome to the voice developer. What would you like to do next?
I don't know that.
Okay, and let's turn excited off. So if I say give me a speech card.
Hiya!
What should we do now?
Okay, very normal Alexified voice. So now what we want to do is apply this new conversational style. So let's go into our code, and the first place I think that I really want to live is we have this, do they have an emotion? And I think we're just going to end up with a bunch of these. So this is the starting point, which is going to be, do they have, what do we call that? A domain. So we'll say if they have a domain, then we're going to put domain SSML. And we need to go, let's go look at what put, is that, no, this is not right. Is this right? If I go look at my code for put, oh, that's in helper. Never mind. I'm confusing myself. Okay. So if we look at our helper file, we have put emotion SSML, and I probably could have made this a lot cleaner. I think we can get rid of this line. We're going to do a very similar thing. Oh, yeah, we wanted to clean this file up too, but we didn't do that. Okay, so we're going to take this, and we're going to create a new one called I call this put domain SSML. And we need to add that to our module export. Put domain. Okay. Our function now this should be pretty easy, right? We have put domain. So we want to get their domain, and we're only calling this function if that exists, so we should be good there. And then for their output speech, we're getting rid of the speaks, and we are adding emotion. So in this case, we want to add domain. And then if we look at the SSML for how this works, we have Amazon domain name equals news. And so we'll just take this, copy it. Like so. This is going to be domain. And then instead of news, though, we're going to make this our actual value. And our actual value is domain. So we take all of that, and this goes here. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Instead of emotion, it's going to be domain. This is going to be Amazon domain. This is going to be domain. So now I'm feeling gross because this is like the same code I just wrote here with slight value changes. I feel like I want to refactor this a little bit. I really should wait until the third time, but the third time's coming real soon. So if I were to pass in, like instead of just putting domain SSML, what if we just said put SSML? And then in here we pass in handler input and we put type, something like that. And then in here, is this how, well, this is going to get a little messy because like Amazon domain is name and Amazon emotion is name, but it has an intensity. And I need to lose that here. Is that what I want to do? Because when I call it here, I could pass all those values in, right? I could say I don't really want to have a whole bunch of logic living here. I just want to put the SSML. Whew. Right, I could do something just like this. Like all I'm really doing is wrapping. So I could have prefix, suffix. That might work. And then I make the decisions outside. So I actually don't even need that. I would just need prefix and suffix. I could lose all of this. That actually be a pretty good approach. And then for my prefix, it's going to be this. Right? I'm just going to take that and I'm going to come out here to my index where I call it. And so instead of handler input, what I'm going to say is something like this. But this is going to be session attribute emotion. Add the intensity. You can always change that there. So that's my prefix, and then my suffix is really just this. I'm playing. I don't even know if this is the way to go about this, but take this and do these. And so I'm passing in the prefix and the suffix. And for
Vacations, expiration.
Alexa, stop.
Live, casual, departure and others.
Alexa, stop. Emotion. So that's all right. And then for domain, same idea. I'm going to take that. I'm just going to say, here's my domain, and then the end of that is this. And so it's feeling like this is pretty kind of cool. I mean, I'm basically able to just build a function that will wrap my existing content in SSML. And I do it exclusively for when these values actually exist. So this needs to be domain. Okay, so I have a prefix and a suffix. Hey, Jolwork, how are you, man? Good to have you. And then this becomes something like prefix like that. That's really it. And then we'll do the same thing down here for the read prompt. So we just have one function. So I'm going to add put SSML down here. Put, and we'll just lose these two because I don't really need a function for every one of them. I'm doing the same thing every time. I don't know what you guys think about this, but this feels like maybe a good approach. So put SSML. I have a prefix and a suffix, and it's just going to wrap all my content in that. I like this. And then we are also putting some repeat data in our model. That's different. So let's refresh and see how this sounds. Skill runs, that's good. And if we come over to the dev console and we refresh, and we say open voice developer.
Jeff, I had trouble doing what you asked. Please try again.
What's the error? Response is not defined. Oh, I still have to pass handler input in because here, if I go back to my thing, response doesn't exist. So I still need response. So this line can go away. I still need response, which means I need handler input. So this line still needs to exist. And handler input, we can do prefix, suffix, handler input. Okay. And we'll take that and go here and down at the end. Well, actually, let's put it at the beginning. So now I have a function with handler input, prefix, and suffix. And that feels like it should work. Open voice developer. Give me some speech.
There was a problem with the requested skills
Oh,
response.
that's even worse. Invalid attribute name for element Amazon. Oh, did I mess it up? For emotion, Amazon domain name equals news, and for emotion, Amazon emotion name what? I feel like I'm doing this right. It's out here. Amazon emotion. I mean, I guess I could see what I put in here. Invalid SSML speech for request ID. Oh, conversational has a space in it in my database. That's all. Okay, we can deal with that. Good to be more careful. And let's do excited here. I'm very interested to see if these play nicely together. So it wasn't my code at all. It was my data. All right. So open voice developer.
Hello, and welcome to Voice Developer. Did you know that you can ask for sound effects? Just say something like, play a laser sound effect.
Okay, and if we look at what we passed in there, we have Amazon domain conversational, and we have Amazon emotion excited, intensity high. And we have closing tags for those two, emotion and domain. Beautiful. So we are now pulling the value out of the database. Now, I didn't notice anything, like if I come into the data and I get rid of excited, I think it's going to sound exactly the same. These things don't seem to play very nicely together. It's one or the other. Open voice developer.
Hello, And welcome to Voice Developer. This skill can give you information and answers about Alexa skill development. What would you like to do next?
Man, it's interesting. I haven't used the domain like this before, but to me, that sounds so much nicer. Like why wouldn't I always use conversational? That sounds really so much better than the normal voice. Let's turn that off and hear that again. I'll turn conversational off, and let's do that one more time. I just feel like that sounds friendlier.
Hello, and welcome to Voice Developer. Did you know I can repeat what I just said? Just say, repeat that, to hear anything I say a second time.
Yeah, I think I like conversational better. I almost want that to be the default. Like when a user comes in for the first time, turn conversational on. It just sounds nicer. I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's feeling pretty nice to me. Okay, so we now have the ability to pull values out of the database if they exist. And we should check that too. Like I didn't have any of those. So if I look, that's interesting. Oh, that was the reprompt. Where's the actual speech that I gave it? That's weird. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Okay. Yeah, see, now I don't have any of those properties, so it's not inserting them unless I actually have the tags in my database. That's exactly how I would want it to work. And I assume there's no closing tags either. That's not how I wrote my code. Okay, so all of that is good. So now we just need to write some code to get that in there. And so this is going to look very similar to what we did with the emotion stuff. So first things first, we got to go into our model, and we have this emotion intent. So emotion intent. We're going to do a new one. This is going to be called domain intent. All these domain and domain, and change the domain to domain. So what is this? Sound? Oh, like sound excited or sound disappointed. That doesn't make sense here. I don't think it makes sense here either. Actually, I'm going to take it out. Okay, so then I need a slot called domain. This is going to be domain is conversational. And I don't have any synonyms for that yet. Long form. Let's see. Let's call this like really, or familiar. These are not words people are going to use, but this is like podcast. Or not radio, but what was the podcast, articles, blogs? So we'll just use a sound like set the domain to podcast. I guess it's fine. We need some synonyms that people might say. We're always going to need a normal. This one will be music. I don't know how these are really different, but that's the point, right? Music. It says music, video, multimedia. Video. Multimedia. Okay. Okay, and then the last one is news. This will be like newscaster, broadcaster, broadcast, news, radio, television. I can't really say news again. Or I could say radio. Yeah, radio. Television. Okay. And the last one is fun. Now I'm going to put this in here, but it's not going to work except in Japanese. So we'll have to figure out how we want to handle that. I don't have any synonyms for that. Sounds like. We could say animated animation. We'll say animated. Okay. Yeah, I almost feel like as we set these things, we should give them a little bit of feedback on like we should, like when we changed these things like to disappointed, we should let them know something, or I don't know if I need to give anything from the tech docs, but it feels like that would be helpful. Anyway, I have my model set. So I now have a slot. I now have up here somewhere, I have my domain intent, set the domain to domain. Okay. So then in here, we need a handler. And we have a set, we have an emotion intent handler already. We'll use that. And we'll copy it, go to here, because we keep them alphabetically. Domain. No, stop all the things, please. Okay, domain intent handler, and then this is going to be domain intent. Well, it does also feel like I took the time to really think about this. I think there's a better way to handle all these handlers, but it's fine. Then I'm going to need a handler called domain intent. So let's register this first so that it actually uses it. My emotion. So domain intent handler now exists, and then domain. Okay, so then we're calling handlers.domain intent. So in handlers, we're going to need something like emotion intent, and we're going to save this as domain intent. Okay, and that means a bunch of changes here. Domain intent. And here at the bottom, we're going to have domain intent, and then in the index, we're going to have domain intent costs. Domain intent equals that looks good, and then we need one more right here. Okay, so domain intent now needs some work. Go away. And this is where we're going to check domain. Again, this feels like, gosh, I'm doing almost the exact same thing. Is spoken domain. We'll do this, though. I would rather keep this stuff separately so that because domain and emotion technically are different. Emotion has an intensity. Domain doesn't. An action query. If resolved domain. If spoken domain. Our domain apology. So like we're doing all the same stuff here, right? I don't have a domain of that kind. Domain apology. Spoken domain. So that part is set up, and then we're going to check and see what our resolved one was. And that's going to be resolved domain. This is domain value. Copy it. That. And that. User domain. Getting rid of the word domain everywhere. So let's do this domain. Set the session attribute to the property so that it does it right now. And if domain is normal, this is where we actually mark it up. So this needs to be domain low intensity. This needs to be here at the end. Domain. And then domain confirmation here. And I use this word a lot. All right, copy. Action query on at the end, okay. And then this needs to be domain confirmation, replace domain. And domain. And that looks, I mean, done-ish, right? I have some data to put together. So if we look at our data table for speech and we find the emotion stuff, I have, emotion apology. So we're going to take this and we're going to go here and we're going to say domain something apology here and put that there. That's not what I asked for. Take this. I heard you say spoken words, but the only domains currently available are, and I guess I could still do this. Amazon domain. First one's going to be, I have that list here somewhere. Right here. Conversational. This is going to be kind of hard to tell, but we'll do it anyway. But domain and Amazon domain. So not and, comma, Amazon domain intensities on these. Conversational, long form, music, fun, and not really, I don't know if anything is news. With just one word, this probably isn't going to sound that interesting anyway. Morning, Jan. Morning, Thomas. Good to see you guys. So it's going to be fun and news and news. Okay, I'm sorry I heard you say this. Let's take some locales and drop those on there. And then we're going to need an emotion confirmation. So we'll take one of these, do a confirmation, and then I've changed your domain. Robert Tables is here. Good morning, everybody. Domain to domain. You can always change it again by saying change the emotion to, and then we're just going to give the individual values. and normal will still be 1. So these are going to be, let's see if I can do this off the top of my head. These are going to be conversational, long form, I lost it. Music, fun, news, or normal. Okay. So now I have my domain confirmation. This is what happens when they change their domain. And this is where I probably should say, like, fun is only available in the fun is only available in the Japanese locale. The note, fun is only available in the Japanese locale. Okay, so now I have domain intent, which this is what, when they say change the domain, this is how I make the decision about whether to change their domain and how to save the value in the database. Robert, it's never too early for some Airtable. It's such a lovely tool for this job. So no, I like it a lot. Okay, so this is my domain intent, but now we need to get, if we look at update user emotion, it's a very quick little function, but we need to save this as update user domain. And then in here, we're going to have domain, and we're going to pass in a domain. This is where we're passing in the matched entity. So I am relying on, when I look at my code here, I am relying on the user matching one of these things, and then I use these individual names, which are the exact phrases that need to be used when we write the SSML. And so I have the user match one of these, or I tell them that they need to say one of those, basically. And when they say one of those, then we will match it, update the database, and go. And so in my, where am I? In my update user domain, I'm only going to pass in one of those values. That's the only time that I would update the database. I'm updating user. I'm updating the field domain to include this new domain value, the specific user ID. And then I'm just returning, I don't need this, returning the domain anyway, just to return a value, and then update user domain here. And then one last place it goes is in my index, update user domain. Require so, and then we update it here, and we should be good. Now, normally I've joked that, like, there's no way I'm going to write all of this code, and it's all just going to work. So let me just check. Let's find the word emotion in this file. See what a broken domain. And as long as there's no word emotion, I feel pretty good that this is probably just going to do what it needs to do. It's still a value of name. That's just, yeah, I think this is all going to look pretty good. So let's fire it up. And so far, so good. And then we're going to come into our dev console, and we should just be able to say, like, anything, right? Tell me about account linking. Let's make sure everything's working.
Here's what I know about account linking. Account linking enables your skill to connect the skill user's Amazon identity with their identity in a different system.
Cool.
Another thing I can do is play speech cons. Bazinga! Just ask me to say a speech con. What else can I help you with? I'm sorry. I heard you say conversational, but the only emotions currently available are excited and disappointed.
That's the one thing I always forget to do.
What should we do now?
Let's stop debugging. Let's go to our terminal, and let's actually push our model. So we can't hit new intents until we tell the system that those intents exist. Did Alexa just say Bazinga? Yeah, she did. Ooh, I just found a typo also. Boom, user domain. That would have failed some things. Yeah, she can do that. So I actually don't think that she just said it, but I can ask that to happen. There's Robert. There's a cool thing with Alexa called speech cons, and speech cons. There's like 300 or so of them. I think there's about 100 for the U.S. English locale. They're words and phrases that Alexa can say with some more emotion or excitement or disappointment, depending on what the thing is, and it all happens automatically. You just say, "Hey, say this thing," and so as you feed Alexa what she needs to say, I can show you a list of what they look like. SpeechCon.
Here is an answer from an Alexa Answers contributor.
Alexa, stop.
Translated.
So these are all things that can be said with some extra emotion. So you can see that actually filtered by, oh, not exactly, contains in this. There's 316 US ones, but you can see in here that, in fact, Bazinga is one of them. And so if I provide any of these phrases, you can see there's holy smoke and inconceivable and all sorts of other fun things. She shoots, she scores, right? All of these are things that Alexa can say with some more emotion, like totally kidding, of course. And so I can, the way that I've built this skill, you can just ask her to say those things. So when we're done deploying, which it appears we are, I'll fire up my debugger again. And I'll play one of those for you. So back to debug console, everything is working. We should be able to come back here. I can say Bazinga.
Bazinga. Another thing I can do is play speech
And then she
cons.
repeats it.
Bazinga. Just ask me to say a speech con. What else can I help you with?
So I can also just say, like, say a speech con, and then it'll just play one at random for me.
Encore. Another thing I can do is play speech cons. Bazinga. Just ask me to say a speech con. What else can I help you with?
Cool. So so I have that database of speech cons, and actually, Robert, you'll appreciate this as someone that appreciates some data. I also keep track of, I think I keep track of this. No, I don't do that yet. Oh, wait, maybe I do. Maybe I'm just keeping track of the number of speech cons you've done. If I go to SpeechCon, no, I'm not keeping track of it. There was a time where I was thinking about keeping track of the ones you'd heard. So if you ask for one randomly, you hear a different one every time until you burn through the whole list. But I'm not doing that. I'm just keeping track of how many times you've heard a SpeechCon. I'm going to have to go back and do that. So let me add that to my list of things to do. So we'll go into get random SpeechCon. And we'll just, well, this is fine. We'll just leave ourselves a note. So we'll say, in a comment, we should keep track of which speech cons a user has heard so that when they ask for one randomly, we give them one they've never. Okay. Yeah, so I'm doing that with a bunch of other stuff in here, Robert. So, for example, I have a table of answers. These are all topics that you may want to know about, right? You can see there's a whole list of them here. If you say, teach me something new, it's going to find one you haven't heard already and bring that one to the forefront. I haven't solved the problem yet, and I have there's this cool tool in Visual Studio Code that I use called To-Do Tree. And in here, anywhere that I have a to-do statement, it catalogs it for me. So I can see that I have, like this one that we just added, right? We should keep track of whatever. Or in my handlers, I have a whole bunch of them. So I just leave myself notes like that, and then I will eventually come back and clean up some of these to-dos once I've gotten most of the rest of the logic done. I'll come back and revisit my to-dos, which are things like, why do I have a to-do for this? To-do. I don't know why that's marked as a to-do. Oh, I know why. Because this is update user domain, and I want to have there's also achievements baked into this whole thing. And so I left this as a to-do to remind myself that, like, hey, you should have achievements for every time that they change their domain. So anyway, lots of little to-dos in here scattered around, and these are all things I'll come back and revisit, but not right now. Okay, so we still haven't actually tested that this works. So now we want to say change the domain to conversational. And if we say that, it should tell me it did it.
Jeff,
See,
I had trouble doing what you asked. Please try again.
So resolve domain is not defined. So we want to go to domain intent and look at line 11. That's just a typo. Let's try that again. Change the domain to conversational.
I've changed your domain to conversational. You can always change it again by saying, change the emotion to conversational, long form, music, fun, news, or normal. As a note, fun is only available in the Japanese locale. Another thing I can do is play speech cons. Bazinga! Just ask me to say a speech con. What else can I help you with?
Okay, and then you can see in my user table, the conversational has been added back in. And I should also be able to do the same thing for emotion. So change the emotion to excited. Now, this isn't going to sound different.
I've changed your emotion to excited. You can always change it again by saying, change the emotion to excited, disappointed, or normal. What can I help you do next?
So now I'm going to say change the domain to normal. And this should erase my domain from the database. And now we should sound excited.
I've changed your domain to normal.
Normal.
You can always change it again by saying, change the emotion to conversational, long form, music, fun, news, or normal. As a note, fun is only available in the Japanese locale. What would you like to try?
So you can see how she's like super excited. Now I noticed that it did not erase my domain here, which it's supposed to do. So if I go to, domain intent, I basically say whatever they resolved, I want to update the user domain. And so in my update user domain function, why didn't that? Why didn't that? Where do I catch for normal? Domain intent. Domain value. Should have been set to undefined. So did it come in as normal? Is that what I passed in? Resolutions, status, success, normal. And it says here, I've changed your domain to normal. But my database value didn't update. Why? If I say change the emotion to normal, the database record is cleared out, I think.
I've changed your emotion to normal. You can always change it again by saying, change the emotion to excited, disappointed, or normal. Did you know that you can ask for sound effects? Just say something like,
Change
play a laser sound effect.
The emotion to disappointed.
I've changed your emotion to disappointed. You can always change it again by saying, change the emotion to excited, disappointed, or normal. Did you know that you can ask for sound effects? Just say something like, play a laser sound effect.
So that's not actually working. Why did I think that was working? Update user domain, handler input domain value. And I'm specifically telling it like, hey, set domain to undefined. At least that's what I'm trying to pass in. If we look at this, so down here, if we look at the response that came in, I got disappointed as my value. And then if I come back here and I say set the emotion to normal.
I've changed your emotion to normal.
I get
You can always
normal.
change it again by saying, change the emotion to excited, disappointed, or normal. What can I help you do next?
And it did all of the things. It did exactly what I asked it to do. In my session attributes, I no longer even have but if I look at my database, it's still disappointed. This was definitely working on Friday, and it's making me angry. So is that not getting called? I mean, I don't understand why. If domain value, so the first thing I do is I look at the resolve value, which is this. This is resolve domain value 0, value name. That's this. Then I save that value to domain value. Then I say, if domain value is normal, then domain value equals undefined, because I don't want to save normal. I want to save it as if it's empty. Then I say two things. Call the database and get me speech for, hey, I've confirmed your change, and then call the database and update the user domain. That's here. Domain. Don't really know why this isn't working. It feels like it should. So now we can say change. We're working in domain. Change domain to normal.
I've changed your domain to normal. You can always change it again by saying, change the emotion to conversational, long form, music, fun, news, or normal.
Weird.
As a note, fun is only available in the Japanese locale. What can I help you do next?
So we're getting undefined to here. I wonder if no. I mean, this. I'm not getting any database errors. I assume that if I were to say something dumb like domain equals tacos, just like intercept it and do whatever I want. Change the domain to normal.
I've changed your domain to normal. You can always change it again by saying, change the emotion to conversational, long form, music, fun, news, or normal. As a note, fun is only available in the Japanese locale. What can I help you do next?
Help me understand. Is my database set to tacos? It is. Interesting. So we're getting there. Hey, take care, Kev. Thanks for being here. So it did update it to tacos. So that means we're in the right place, but it's not updating it if it's undefined. what if I say if domain is undefined, domain equals nothing. That would also give me the thing that I want, which is an empty value. Change the. Let's do this.
I've changed your domain to normal. You can always change it again by saying, change the emotion to conversational, long form,
Didn't do it.
music, fun, news, or normal. As a note, fun is only available in the Japanese locale. What would you like to try?
I would like to try this actually working. That's what I would like to try. Change the domain to normal.
Changed your domain to normal. You can always change it again by saying, change the emotion to conversational, long form, music, fun, news, or normal. As a note, fun is only available in the Japanese
Sounds like
locale.
Eeyore.
Did you know I can repeat what I just said? Just say, repeat that, to hear anything I say a second time. You asked me about account linking. Account linking enables your skill to connect the skill user's Amazon identity with their identity in a different system. What should we do now? I've changed your domain to conversational. You can always change it again by saying, change the emotion to conversational, long form, music, fun, news, or normal. As a note, fun is only available in the Japanese locale. Another thing I can do is play speech cons. Bazinga! Just ask me to say a speech con. What else can I help you with? I've changed your domain to
Okay.
normal. You can always change it again by saying, change the emotion to conversational, long form, music, fun, news, or normal. As a note, fun is only available in the Japanese locale. What should we do now?
It's weird to me, but I'll do it. Emotion. Oh, the other thing I should check though is if I send in an empty string and I say something like, so what does my database look like right now? Empty, empty? Okay. So if I say, tell me about account linking.
You asked me about account
Okay.
linking. Account linking enables your skill to connect the skill user's Amazon identity with their identity in a different system. What would you like to do next?
I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to treat it like an empty string that was just jamming it in there, but it is not. It's not doing that. Okay. So I think I fixed both of those. I'm really surprised that wasn't working. I really thought I tested that last week. But so if emotion is undefined, then we'll set emotion to empty string, and then that should also work. So let's try resetting our code and then saying change the emotion. Excited. That will definitely work.
I've changed your emotion to excited. You can always change it again by saying, change the emotion to excited, disappointed, or normal. Did you know that you can ask for...
And it goes away.
I've changed
Okay.
your emotion to normal. You can always change it again by saying,
Weird.
change the emotion to excited, disappointed, or normal. What can I help you do next?
Okay. So one of the other things that I wanted to look at, which we'll do here, is if we look at our intents, we have, we're going to have a variety of other intents. But one of the things, I don't know how I'm going to do this. One of the things I talked about at the beginning of this broadcast was the idea of being able to manipulate all these things like emotion and domain and a number of other things, and then getting Alexa to say something for you. But if I'm going to do that, then I need you to be able to say, like, say this. But I also use say for SpeechCon, which, I mean, I suppose I could get rid of. But if I want you to say Bazinga, I'm going to have you say Bazinga. I wouldn't expect you to say something else. Well, let's at least add that idea because I think that's a cool idea. So we'll just go like into our main index, just leave ourselves a note. A parrot tab uses search query to allow a user to hear what they said with the SSML modifications they selected. Okay. I think that's good for now. So I have my domain intent handler. I have my emotion intent handler. As we look at this stuff, so we've done domain. We've done the next one will be effect, I guess, which is just whispered. This is either on or off. I don't know if I want to do it the same way. Because I think they're just going to say, like, turn whisper mode on or turn whisper mode off. I'm not going to build that today, but let's just add ourselves some more notes as we're thinking about this. Add. What else do we have here? That's effect, which is Amazon effect. I think the way that they've set it up, right? If I think about how they've built this SSML, where it's actually effect and then we have whispered, it leads me to believe that they built this for future proofing so that they could add other effects. So in order to build my skill properly, I should probably just do the same thing where the only options are whispered or normal now. But in the future, that could change. And then I'm ready for the future because they built their SSML model that way. It could have just been a tag that said whispered, but they didn't do that. They added effect. Do we have audio? We already do that with the sound effects library. There wouldn't be an easy way for someone to say, like, set audio or whatever, right? And breaks don't really make sense. I guess I could do a break just so you can hear how long it is. At least for these individual pauses. That might actually be pretty fun. We could have a specific sentence that's something like, a break represents a pause in the speech. And then I put the break in between each word. And then when you ask for a medium break, I change the length of the break between each word so you can hear, like, it gets longer as I speak. And so you could say, oh, give me what is, I guess, strong, none, extra weak, weak, medium, strong, and extra strong. The default is medium. So that might be pretty cool to do. So I think a break tag where we have a sentence. Add a break option that lets the user hear how long each of the break types are. Okay. It seems like it could be pretty cool. The next one is emphasis. Yeah, this is definitely one we'll do. It's weird that this isn't like Amazon emphasis, but I guess this is probably part of the core SSML and not something specific to Amazon. I would guess that we invented these three. Emphasis is another good one. Increase the volume and slow down the speaking rate. And that's going to be different than like prosody, which allows me to set the speech or the volume. These kind of feel like pre-configured sets of prosody, which is cool. But you can imagine pretty quickly how complex this all gets as we have emphasis set and we have prosody set and we have effect set and we have emotion. Like all of these things can stack and layer, I think. And the point is to allow you to like mix and match and see what you end up with. So I kind of want to do the break one. I don't know. I don't really have time. But that break idea is pretty cool. All right. Well, we've gone an hour and 15. I think that's pretty good. So let me save and commit everything here. So it's all added. Domain intent. Fix issue where saving the value to domain and emotion wasn't working. So it is now saving an empty string. Okay. Kick that out. That is in the GitHubs. We've done it. Okay, so that's going to be it for today. I think next time we come in, this should be pretty easy, but we'll try to add a couple of these. I'm going to hold off on the search query one only because it's going to destroy everything. And I would prefer not to destroy everything right away. The search query has so much gravity that every other intent and utterance and everything will have to be really refined and broad so that I'm covering all my bases. But for now, at least we have it marked down as an idea. So I'm going to stop debugging and we're going to sign off. I'll be back in 2.5 hours for office hours on our Alexa channels. So I will see you all over there just about noontime today, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Anyway, thank you guys all for tuning in. I'll see you probably Thursday. I'm going to be here Thursday for sure. Probably Thursday and Friday. But anyway, take care, everybody. See you soon.